Elliot Maisie, welcome to Melbourne and especially welcome to Deakin. We're looking forward to spending the day with you discussing some of the key trends in learning.
Well, it's an honour to be here, Simon.
Excellent. Before we start, is it true you were responsible for coining the phrase e-learning, and when and how did that happen?
Well, I'm either responsible or blamed for it, and I'm not sure I've coined it, but I certainly took it public. Interesting quick story. In about 1994, I was in the senior offices at IBM, right up with their CEO, and they had just announced e-business. And we were talking about e-business and email. And I said, well, what about e-learning? You are an early experimenter, and the internet was just sort of coming to be, and everyone got very excited. I said, well, you know, you're trying to trademark e-business, you should trademark e-learning. They got all excited. And then the lawyers got involved, and they said, well, it'll confuse our e-business model. So I said, okay, what I'll do is I'll just start using it. I don't want to own it, but I'll just start using it. And it was probably popularized at multiple parts. But I will share what the E stood for was different back then, you know, because we were thinking about the E as electronic. And today I think the electronic part of it is a no-brainer. I think it's rather thinking about the E meaning everyone, everywhere, every time, efficient, evolving, evidence-based. So I think the definition of e-learning has evolved quite a bit from the mid-1990s.
Excellent. I was going to ask you that because the term e-learning from an electronic perspective seems fairly narrow, given the many things that come together with technology and learning now. Do you have a term you prefer to use than e-learning?
I dropped it. I just use the word learning. I think Clay Christensen, a wonderful learning disruptor from Harvard, would argue that every learning experience will be mixed and blended. Every learning experience, you know. So if I go to a face-to-face classroom, probably while I'm there I'll look something up on the web. Or if I take an e-learning course and something is provocative, I'll probably have a conversation with a colleague face-to-face. So I like the word learning, and then I think we assume in this age of technology that we'll use technology creatively, disruptively, efficiently, where appropriate, but we'll also do the things face-to-face that are better done that way.
Excellent. And you're in Australia to talk about some of the future sort of trends and disruptors for learning. What are a couple of the key ones, and how do you see them sort of changing how we do things at the moment?
Well, Simon, the one I would put at the very top is personalization. I believe that if we unpack everything we've been talking about with technology, the bit that's intriguing is how much more personal technology is allowing us to make our experience. I can go online and I can order a pair of shoes in the color that I want and the size I want delivered here, and I get what I want when I want it. If I watch television, I'm less likely to watch it at 8:30 when the program is on. I'm more likely to watch it later on when I want it, maybe fast forward, maybe watch it from my mobile device. So I think personalization is important. In a few minutes we'll be chatting with some of your colleagues and clients about the concept of what Facebook calls one size fits one. You know, our old model was one size fits everyone. But really, your online experience is more and more personalized, and so we think that's part of it. It also gets to, I think, an important part. I know you do a lot of work in compliance. I think we've misinterpreted that compliance means we have to teach and reteach the same things over and over again. I think we have to perhaps know how to teach it and test it, and then maybe teach the things that are missing, and find a more personal way to keep people educated, compliant, strategic, and profitable in that sense.
So with that personalisation, how do you see overcoming the challenge of often those learning audiences are very large and geographically dispersed? How do you get that element of personalisation into some of those bigger learning programs?
Well, it's a perfect question, Simon, because if we think that the personalization is you or me, boy, we're screwed up. It's not going to be. Ultimately, the personalization is going to occur the learner. She's going to have her little sliders that she can move back and forth to say, give me more, give me less. Now, we need to affirm and test that appropriately. So in my world of personalization, our learner gets more control and we get more micro-testing of that. The other bit that I think we have to do is to not confuse teaching and learning. You know, our job at the end of the day is that they've learned it. If they learned it while we taught it, well, that's nice, but it's irrelevant. Really what's important is that they know it. And so I think as we shift our focus in learning to that they know it rather than how we taught it, some of that personalization would be there. But I'd argue for anybody who's watching this right now, you don't have a choice. Your learners are personalizing. Yep. So this is a matter of, are you part of that, or are you in some cave in the hills thinking that we're still all watching TV at 7 o'clock on Sunday night because that's when it's broadcast?
Sure, sure. And I've heard you advocate very strongly for the sane deployment of of learning and technology. What do you mean by sane, and can you give us an example?
Well, I'll give you
an insane one.
I'll give you a perfect example. And you know, it was actually about when I was in Australia last. I remember being here and putting up on the screen the picture of me. I was a sort of silver cartoon in Second Life. Okay. Because back then we were all going to stop meeting in rooms. There would not be classrooms. We were not going to have anything other than we were going to animate ourselves. And guess what? A, it didn't work, but B, it evolved beyond that. So we can now go on Skype or WebEx or video conferencing and the like. I think the sane deployment of technology is that we take a look at a technology. So, you know, probably like you, I got my mobile device. There are many things on this device that are cool and useless. You know, they're cool, so I have them because I want to try them, but they're not really helpful. Yep. There are many things that are cool, but they're not useful yet. Because I've got to figure out. But when I go to the airport later, I'm going to pop in on my Uber app and see where the car is and have it go there and track it on the way and have it auto charge. Well, that app took about 4 years of mobile phones being around before we could do something sane and disruptive. So I think we need to be evidence-based. Our goal is not giving our workers, you know, fancy-dancy tools and toys. Our goal is help them perform at work. And if we're in the educational system, help them get their next job. Yeah. So, and I think we have to be hard on ourselves. I think we have to slap around our IT people occasionally to get them to wake up. And I also think I'm looking for a solution. If the solution is writing 4 words on a paper card, and that helps me do my job, that's it. If it's a high-tech 3D simulation, that's it. But I wanted to be sane and evidence-based in that process.
Excellent. And I understand back in New York you have the Mazie Center for Learning, which is like an R&D, research and development. What have you got in the sandbox over there?
Oh, we have some wonderful things, and some of them are quite disruptive. I almost brought it, but I was worried about getting through customs. I'm on a 4-country tour now. I've got a drone. I have an auto-flying drone with a high-def GoPro camera underneath it, and I literally could take it up here in Melbourne and get incredible pictures with it. Now, why are we playing with a drone? Well, increasingly, you wouldn't necessarily use a drone in an office, but if you were teaching somebody on a construction site or on a railroad or post office, suddenly the ability to have a true 360 elevated high-def image, enormously important. I think high-def video is another thing that, you know, right now we're being filmed by 3 small, powerful cameras, and the editing can be done on a laptop or on a tablet. So I think that video is becoming more and more high production without necessarily the high cost. You know, I'm a big fan of saying good enough is as well. And the third area that I'm intriguingly interested in is an old topic to talk about it new, which is on-the-job learning. You know, for years we've learned our jobs not by going to courses, not by doing e-learning, but because there was a bloke in the office who we trusted, or we had a manager and she was helpful. And so I think we have to go forward by honoring that which is back. But now the on-the-job learning might be facilitated by a tablet. It might be connected in a social media to another person, and it might be, to go back to our first question, highly personalized in the process.
Excellent. And outside your professional interests, I understand you own some thoroughbred horses, racing horses, and you also enjoy getting involved in musicals, in Broadway musicals. So have you owned any champion racehorses?
Yes.
And are you prepared to finish this interview with singing us a few lines from Kinky Boots?
I would definitely sing for you. That'd be no problem. No, we have along the way had a couple of really, I think, wonderful horses. We had one horse called Lucifer Stone that went on to win a Grade 1 stakes race, and then the Sheikh of Dubai bought him, and actually bought her. I got the gender mixed up, and she's been a mare, and he's not done very well on that. But the check cleared for us.
Very good.
And we're very honored to be in a variety of Broadway shows, and one of them is Kinky Boots, which is starting a tour, and someday I am sure, will come here to Australia. And while I don't really want to offend your viewers by singing it, I will tell that the message of Kinky Boots is if you accept people as they are, and if you accept yourself as you are, it changes the world. And it's a very powerful, fun musical that Cyndi Lauper did the music for, and it's touring the United States now, and we hope to be in England, and soon after that, we hope to come to its opening here in Australia.
Fantastic. Look forward to seeing that. Elliot Mosey, thanks very much, and enjoy your time in Australia.
Simon, thank you for having us here.
Pleasure.